All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rachaha Kodash. The one is to the head apostles, now is a great millstone who rule well and teach well. This is the brother Mattathiah from the GMS Virginia camp, coming to you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai. Yahweh being a true, holy, and powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Yahushai being a true, holy, powerful name of his only begotten Son, whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus and Christ. Bahashim is in the name. The Lord willing, this will be an edifying lesson. And we're going to touch on these AI data centers that are rapidly and in some cases secretly being built all over Babylon the Great and various other parts of the earth. Okay, we're going to get into what these AI data centers are, what they're composed of, and ultimately what they're being built for. I got a couple videos I want to play. The first one is entitled "We Saw AI Data Centers." We saw what our AI data centers don't want you to see. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this video. And this is fair use, fair use.
This is Stargate, one of the largest AI data centers in the world. It's currently under construction in rural Texas. Stargate will eventually include 4 million square feet of buildings across 1,100 acres. That's larger than Central Park.
Scale that is involved here. I mean, this is a massive site.
It's estimated that by the year 2030, companies will have invested nearly $7 trillion in data center infrastructure in a race to dominate the AI market. But this race to build AI superiority is happening so fast, many are concerned that companies might be cutting corners or taking advantage of regulatory loopholes, especially when it comes to the electricity and water required to run these massive data centers.
Want any questions answered? We just want it stopped.
People all over the U.S. are raising the alarm about the impacts that these data centers could have on their health, their homes.
So people are angry, and you see various different protests going on concerning these AI data centers. People reporting that, they're experiencing nausea, headaches, weird noises. All right, these data centers are using up all the water in the area to keep these computers, these supercomputers, cool. All right, as well as various other things, adverse things that are not being talked in the mainstream media concerning these AI data centers. And the main thing that is being pushed, circling around these AI data centers, is that it's gonna make your life better and it's gonna produce jobs. Well, it is producing jobs, but the jobs that it's producing are only temporary, because once these AI data centers get built, where do the jobs go? You're no longer needed. Okay, and they're going to use artificial intelligence to keep a level of upkeep at these various different facilities. Okay, now first, I want to get into a little bit concerning these AI data centers. I asked the chat GPT which state has the most data centers, and it says the state with the most data centers and the largest concentration of AI related computing infrastructure is Virginia. So right here in the good old VA, especially in Northern Virginia region, often called Data Center Alley. Multiple 2026 data sets show Virginia leading the nation by a wide margin. So Virginia is the top state in Babylon the Great for the most AI data centers. And I'm not surprised. Okay. It says current leaders include, number 1 being Virginia, of course, number 2, Texas, 3, California, 4, Illinois, and 5 Georgia. It says interestingly, while Virginia currently has the most operational data centers, Texas is seeing some of the fastest AI data center growth and may eventually overtake Virginia if it announced projects are complete, concerning that Stargate project that this individual was speaking about. Let's continue on.
Investigating data centers around the U.S. He's already found that some AI data centers are brazenly defying environmental laws, and regulators are doing little to stop it.
There's really a transparency issue around the AI industry right now. It feels like a really important time for us to really pay close attention to these things.
We're teaming up today to take you up above for a different perspective on this science story, using a drone fitted with a thermal camera to investigate what's really happening at one of the world's largest data centers, and how it's impacting the people who live in its backyard.
There are the drone footage, especially the thermal drone footage.
Is this even legal?
And I'll leave that link in the description box to that video. He basically, flies a drone over this this AI data center, and he goes into how much energy this data center and data centers in general are using, and also the adverse effects on the communities of the people that live in these particular areas. All right. Now, I also asked the chat, what is an AI data center? It says an AI data center is a large facility filled with specialized computers that are designed to train and run artificial intelligence systems. So these data centers are being built for AI, but not just AI. These data centers are being built ultimately for the rollout and the facilitation of these people receiving the M.O.T.B, which is the micro chip. Okay. Now I got another video I want to play. And before I play this next video, I want to read a little bit more in this chat. It says, inside an AI data center, you typically find servers, powerful computers working together, GPUs and AI accelerators, specialized CIPs that perform the massive calculations needed for AI. And these calculations aren't just going to be used for AI. These calculations are going to be used concerning the people, which AI is going to have a heavy part in that. All right, especially when the majority of these people take that electronic device. There's a lot of data that has to be computed at high volume very, very efficiently. It says networking equipment, ultra fast connections linking thousands of computers, right? All this various different technology is going to be linked together. Okay. Various different satellites, the the eye in the sky, these various different cameras. Okay. Your phone, your computer, your TV, the whole grid is going to be linked together, and you're going to be a part of that grid if you have that electronic device inside of you. It says cooling systems, because AI hardware generates a lot of heat, and that's another thing. These various different counties and communities are reporting the loss of a great loss of water, because these data centers are taking all the water to cool their supercomputers, right? Taking the water from the river, taking the drinking water from various different reservoirs is at an all-time low. It says, and they're even telling people that live around these communities to only shower on certain days, to wash your dishes on this day and that day. It says cooling system, because AI hardware generates a lot of heat, power infrastructure, backup batteries, generators, and electronic equipment. It says AI data centers are used to train AI modules such as chatbots and image generators, run AI services for millions of users, support scientific research, and analyze large data sets for businesses and governments, right? And we all know what these data centers are ultimately being built for, which we're going to touch on that later on in the video. So without further ado, let's play a little bit of this video right here, which I'm more than likely stop it periodically to make some points and, of course, bring out some scriptures. This is entitled Astra Taylor and AI Data Center Resistance and Fighting Billionaire Big Tech Agenda. Okay, and who is behind all this? None other than Esau Edom. And narrowing it down, these wicked elite Edomite banking families who call the shots, who are in the position of power pursuant to Job 9:24. So without further ado, let's go. And this is fair use, fair use.
Recently approved the first statewide moratorium, but the governor, Janet Mills, vetoed the legislation. A new Gallup poll released today shows 7 out of 10 Americans oppose data centers being built near them. and the opposition spans the political spectrum. In Utah, residents are fighting plans to build what would be the largest data center in the world in Box Elder County. If built, the facility would generate and consume more energy than the entire state of Utah. The proposed complex would cover an area more than 2.5 times the size of Manhattan. Estimates show the project could increase Utah's greenhouse gas emissions by 50%. On Capitol Hill, Vermont's Independent Senator Bernie Sanders and Democratic Congressmember Alexandra.
And you've heard Bill Gates, come on the scene time and time again and speak about emissions, carbon deposits, carbon gas. The cows farting and breathing is causing global warming. All these various different things is impacting the planet Earth. But meanwhile, this devil is creating and establishing facilities like you see on your screen that will use more energy than its whole state that it's in, right? And not only that, the adverse effects from these data facilities are going to cause a great impact on the environment and the community, all right? I asked the chat again, the adverse effects of AI data centers, it says AI data centers provide computing power for AI and cloud server, but they also have some potential downsides. And I'm going to skim through these. It says energy use, water consumption, environmental impact. Let's see what this says. It says the environmental impact depends on how the electricity is generated. Facilities powered by fossil fuels can contribute to greenhouse gas emissions, while those using renewable energy have smaller carbon footprint. Okay, and this is all up in the air because these data centers are relatively new, so we don't know the long-term effects of these data centers. Okay, it says land use and community concerns. Large data center campuses can occupy significant amounts of land. Yeah, and they're going to use in the eminent domain. They're telling you, hey, guess what? You got to move out of your. We're gonna purchase your house at what we see fit that is a reasonable price, and you have to accept it. Okay, we're confiscating this land to build our data center. So everyone in this community, everyone in this neighborhood's got to go. We'll give you a check. You can take it or not, but you got to go, right? I believe it's called eminent domain. It says increase industrial development in previous rural areas, generating noise from cooling equipment and backup generators, change local infrastructure and needs. It says electronic waste, AI hardware eventually becomes obsolete. Servers, networking gear, and CHIPs must be replaced, creating electronic waste that needs responsible recycling. And we all know what Esau does with his waste when it comes to these large companies and businesses. He dumps that shit. He dumps it in the earth. He dumps it in the air, and he especially dumps it in the water. And it ain't gonna be no different from the electronic waste and the waste from these data centers. Your water is gonna be polluted, your land's gonna be polluted, the air you breathe is gonna be even more polluted. On top of the electronic frequencies, the gas, okay, all these negative emissions that you're gonna be dealing with people reporting, being nauseated, not feeling well, all these various other things that people are saying are the cause of these data centers being built around them. Now, before we go any further, let's get a scripture real quick. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 12, and we're going to go down to verse 10. It says, never trust thine enemy. And if you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which you are the biblical Israelites, don't know, your enemy, all right, your which all the nations are your enemies, but your top enemy is Esau, Edom. When you go into Psalms, the 83rd chapter, it goes into the enemies of Israel, Esau, Edom being at the top. Okay. It says, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. Yeah, he tells you he's doing this for jobs. He's doing this for an betterment of humanity. He's doing this to help you common individuals, to provide income into your bank account. When he has very nefarious, a nefarious agenda, all right, very sinister plans for the future of the people. It says, Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust hath not been altogether wiped away. Set him not by thee, lest when he hath overthrown thee, he stand in thy place. Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked wherewith. Yeah, these people that are the electricians, etc., that are working on these data centers, they're getting paid very, very well. You know, individuals making 3,200 plus a week. Okay, so $150,000 a year plus to work on these data centers. But the thing is, it's temporary. Okay, which they're not telling these workers. That these workers think they're going to have these jobs for an extended period of time. But once these data centers get built, you're no longer needed. Thank you, have a nice day. It says, lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith. Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or such as come nigh wild beasts? So one that goeth to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. And ultimately, Esau Edom wants, everyone under his clutch and under his tight grip, and he's seeking to facilitate that via the M.O.T.B, which is the primary focus and primary objective amongst his many objectives in his New World Order goals and plans. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. It's going to provide jobs. This is so great, but his ultimate agenda is completely against the people, right? He wants you to feed you mystery meat, all right, computer generated, 3D printed food. He wants to set up a universal basic income, a social credit score. He wants to put a micro C-HIP and the technology circling around that inside of you, okay? And not only that, he wants to be able to control your thoughts, control your mind, tell you how to act, force you to act a certain way and believe a certain thing, all right? The scripture speaks about this man is destroying the planet Earth. On the road to his New World Order, he's destroying the animals, he's destroying the fish, he's destroying the land, he's destroying the water, okay? He's destroying the air you breathe, and he's destroying the people. The scripture says, when the righteous on authority, the people rejoice. When the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. And you see the people mourn, like that video clip I just played. The people are mad at these data centers. They're doing protests, okay, concerning these data centers. There's a poll taken, and 7 out of 10 Americans are against these data centers. It says, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagined how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first, and though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance, right? He says he's doing this to provide jobs. We're providing jobs for the community. But ultimately, they're planning on throwing mass amounts of people in these concentration detainment camps, and they're planning on deleting the majority of the people on the planet Earth. The Georgia Guidestones, right? They want to keep under 500 million people on the planet Earth. So, hey, there's a lot of people got to go according to that. All right.
Estimates show the project could increase Utah's greenhouse gas emissions by 50%. On Capitol Hill, Vermont's Independent Senator Bernie Sanders and Democratic Congressmember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have introduced legislation to impose a temporary national moratorium on new artificial intelligence data center construction.
More than 100 local communities across 12 states have already enacted local moratoriums on data centers, and Congress itself has a moral obligation to stand with them and stop big tech from ruining their communities. Our legislation in the House and the Senate would hit the brakes on construction of new data centers until we address several of the key areas of harm AI poses.
I'm shocked. We go now to North Carolina, where we're joined by Astra Taylor, writer, organizer, co-founder of the Debt Collective. She co-wrote a new piece for The Guardian headlined, "The fight against AI data centers isn't just about tech, it's about democracy." Astra Taylor and Naomi Klein's forthcoming book out this September is titled End Times Fascism and the Fight for the Living World. Astra, welcome back to Democracy Now! Why don't you start off just by talking about what these AI data centers are, this largest one in Utah. I was just in Middleburg, Virginia last night. Every other person was raising this issue with me, very critical issue in Virginia right now. Explain what they are.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, data centers are essentially the backbone of the AI revolution. Data centers aren't new. Every time you use the internet, you're using data centers. So they've been around for a while, but they have been supercharged by the push towards artificial intelligence. Virginia is indeed the data center hub in this country, but they're spreading rapidly across the United States. Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, has said that perhaps we'll have to cover the entire world in data centers. And it's about the drive for computing power. And they are often on an absolutely enormous scale. Like you described the data center being proposed in Utah, which would actually use twice as much energy as the entire state. There's one being proposed in Michigan that is going to be as big as 32 NFL football fields. And they use incredible amounts of energy, often gas, fossil fuel. They're being used as an excuse to put even old coal factories and coal production back online. And there are many negative consequences for communities, from emissions. Often they are powered by temporary gas turbines that are being used almost on a permanent basis. So there's air pollution, carcinogens, there's light and noise pollution. People are absolutely tormented by the sounds of these huge warehouses of whirring computers. There is water use issues depending on where it's located. And then there's just the question of what are people getting in return, because these are massive quote unquote factories, but there are no jobs and a lot of harms for the people who live near them and larger harms for our society.
So there you heard it. She went into some of the adverse effects of these data centers. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11. It says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." This is another device of Esau Edom. Okay. And these data centers, which ultimately are going to facilitate artificial intelligence and able to compute large amounts of data, okay, which you are going to be the data. The people are going to be the data that these data centers are gathering intel and information on. All right. It says, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices." And we know this, these data centers, AI is going to basically allow Esau Edom, when these people receive these implantable devices, Neuralinks, BCIs, or conventional methods of having a micro C-hip in their body, okay, it's going to allow, Esau Edom to efficiently, monitor, efficiently collect data, and moreover, efficiently control the people on a cellular level. All right. AI needs to be in place. 5G, 6G is already there. Various different technologies, okay, all have to be in place before the rollout and the mass acceptance of these micro C-hips upon the planet Earth. Okay, as simple as that. And that's why you see Esau scurrying to set up and establish all these things, because he plans on rolling out the M.O.T.B, making it highly attractive, persuading the masses of people to take it willingly, line up at your chipping station. Look at all the things that you can do. I just did a video on that individual that took the Neuralink, and he's given a testimonial of the amount of time that he's had the Neuralink and all the things that he can do. And it's just, there's no adverse effects. This is just a betterment on his life. Okay. Esau Edom's gonna use all his tricks, his schemes. He's gonna use Hollywood. He's gonna use these movie stars. He's gonna use your favorite podcaster, man. All right. He's going to use these individuals that these kids look up to. He's going to use your school teacher. He's going to use your pastor. You saw what those pastors did during the C19, right? They got up live on TV with their fresh suits and they told all you church members, all you so-called black people to go out and get it, right? And these individuals weren't scientists. They didn't have no experience in pharmacy, in the drug industry, none of that. And y'all believed them, okay? And once again, I'll leave the link in the description box to these various different videos that I went into. Let's go to Revelation, the 13th chapter. And let's go down to the 16th verse. And it reads, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the charagma or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Esau's going to say, hey, guess what? You know, this system has to go and we have to evolve. We have to become better. Okay. We have a new way of life, a new way of living. We have a new currency, all these new things. Okay. And basically, these companies are seeing that the future, you know, is artificial intelligence, AI, you know, these micro C hips. All right. You know, that's the future. And it's either, you know, get down or get rolled over or get left behind. Okay. And you're seeing these various different companies adapting. You know, they're laying off large amounts of their employees because they're seeing that, hey, I can make more money, I can be more efficient, I can be a better business off the strength of artificial intelligence. It says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the charagma or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Like the individual that took that Neuralink, he said, this is the future, and this is the future. The M.O.T.B is the future, okay? But it's not the future you want to be a part of, pursuing the Revelation, the 14th chapter. Let's go over to Revelation, what is that, the 3rd chapter? Yeah, this is Revelation 3 and 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. And see, not every single so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American that knows they're an Israelite has kept the word of the Lord's patience. He hasn't kept the word of Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. They haven't believed in the truth. All right. They haven't eaten the whole roll. You got a lot of Israelites that, you know, they believe certain aspects of the scriptures, but they don't believe the whole Bible. They err in certain scriptures and certain breakdowns. Like the scripture says, they err in vision because they're listening to false prophets and false teachers that are ultimately leading them down that path of destruction. They're ultimately leading them straight to the M.O.T.B, right? It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. And we're vastly approaching that hour of temptation. Expect something major to take place. Expect something major to happen, catastrophic to happen on a large magnitude. So Esau can, you know, uh, um, accelerate the masses into accepting his devices. It says, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. You know, that's why you got to pray to Yahweh by Shem Yahushua, okay, to protect you in these times, to strengthen your faith, to keep you and protect you, and not allow you to take that implantable device, right? Because if the Lord wants you to take the microchip, you're going to take the microchip. Okay, the Lord has a certain number of Israelites that are going to take the micro C hip, and a certain number of Israelites that ain't going to take it. And we hope and pray we're part of that elect number that will stand stiffly for Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, that will stand stiffly against Esau, Edom, his orders, his objectives, his devices, right? And if we have to die, so be it. Now let's go to Revelation, the 14th chapter. This is Revelation chapter 14 and verse 9. And it reads, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his charagma in his forehead or in his hand, whether you get a BCI, the Neuralink, whether you get it the conventional method in your arm or your hand, or however you take it, all right? The fact that you're taking it, here's the judgment for that. Verse 10, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So there is a judgment, okay, for taking the M.O.T.B. The M.O.T.B. is not sin, but it is a sin to take it. You got these various different camps that say that basically push to you, Jakes, that you can be saved, that you can be delivered and saved off the strength of keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Keep the commandments, right? They're saying the M.O.T.B. ain't the microchip. They said it's June. We in June. Ain't no microchips, right? Well, look around you. All right. Look what's happening. Look what's being built. Okay. Look what's being set up. Look what they're designing. At these summit meetings, look at what they're talking about. Okay. All roads lead to the M.O.T.B. Lord willing, that was edifying. To the next time, Shalom.